look at these, you'll notice that not all of them are quant related, that there are some that are about decision making and communication, because more and more people in the accounting field are not having to just be able to come up with financial statements and the numbers. It's also about communicating and helping people within the organization get to understand and use the information in a good way. The courses are, you can see most of the accounting courses. They are on one hand all about information for people outside of the company, and so financial accounting, intermediate accounting, advanced accounting, all of those are about the information that outside users see. And then others like managerial accounting, cost accounting, accounting information systems are more about information that people within the company, management, can use to make those decisions. So there's two dimensions of that. You'll also notice that we have a good many management courses, and that's where some of those competencies come from that they also need to understand. And it used to be that that it was all about the numbers, and people realized that as information technology comes in and does a lot more of those calculations, that people on the accounting side of things need to be able to interpret that type of information. There are a couple of changes that I just made at the most recent curriculum committee in this program. One is that you can see there's a 2-course sequence in cost accounting. I looked at over a dozen accounting programs and none of them had 2 courses. All of them have gone back to 1. So I've combined those into 1 course. There's a lot of material that's duplicative between what is here and what is in other courses. So I'm able to put it into 1. Then I added a couple cyber courses. So we have 4 cyber courses 3 cyber courses that are not technology focused. their undergraduate program. So that's another option if their faculty allow them to do that.
What I didn't realize until recently, and then it seems to be reinforced here, is that I thought to meet that 150 credits, that additional 30 credits had to be like in an accounting program.
No.
And somebody was telling me actually at the career fair that they picked up a quite different master's degree.
Yep.
And that met the requirement.
Yeah.
Is there any requirement that it be at all tied to business? I mean, could they get something?
No. In fact, there are people who have undergraduate degrees and are willing to, get all of the accounting courses. And if that equals, if they take 30 credits of undergrad accounting, and they have a degree in communication, they can. That's 150 credit hour. The one concern, and especially if they're outside of Vermont, is that there are some, every state has their own requirement for the 150 hours and what kind of accounting program or courses you need to be able to do that. And so there may be some states that say you have to have an undergraduate degree in accounting. But I think there are ways around that, because there aren't enough people in accounting to fill all the jobs. It could be more of a challenge in New York and California because the populations are stronger, and so the states that have the biggest population of accountants are the ones who have the most stringent educational requirements to get in there. In Vermont, you just need so many credits on financial accounting and an auditing course and a business law course, something like that. I mean, it's just courses that you need. But if somebody is out of state in Vermont, and I can remind me, and I'll give you a website that you can share with people if they want to know, that directly goes to the state's websites. Are there any other questions? Is there anything you want to add, Kathy?
Well, I was just going to say, I think you're referring to the CPA This Way, which is the site that will break down by state, what students need. And students, I have a lot of students that will call me and say, well, I'm getting ready to sit for my CPA exam. What do you think that I need? And I always direct them through CPA This Way so they can speak to someone at their state level that can tell them exactly, because that's not something that we can tell them, because it is different for every state. I think
that's about it.
That's about all. I did want to comment. You had talked about the accounting AS. I'm really surprised at the number of students who already have an advanced degree who are coming back to get that AS in accounting, to get those accounting courses, and they're happy to do it. And it's been really, really nice with Linda and Mark working together to make it easy, rather than going into a different certificate, but going through the AS pathway, because then that gives them just one more credential. So
and it also allows them to get financial aid. If they do the certificates, they can't get financial aid. So.
That's true too. Yeah. So
if someone is coming in with they're coming in with an associate degree, and it's not in accounting, is that something that they will still be able to finish with just 60 more credits our accounting degree? Like, I know that there's some programs that there's more flexibility. Like if you come in with your associate degree, you can pretty much finish. And then like I know cyber is really difficult to come in with an associate in one area and finish.
But I think these are people who generally already have a degree, so this is
I'm talking about a different scenario.
Okay, so you're talking about someone who comes in with an associate
degree, and then is saying, I'd really like to get my accounting
associate's
bachelor's.
Well. Oh, bachelor's. Okay.
Will they be able to, with a different background at the associate level, will they be able to, with just another 60 credits, complete their?
Absolutely.
Really? I don't know. Do we have a completer degree in that? If they do, it has to be very specific about because the way I showed you, there are a lot of accounting, and that's required to take all of those courses, because it's if you say you have an accounting degree, because it's so consistent, everybody assumes you have those. So it's possible that we could come up with an approach, but there are certain courses they would have to take, and it might be more than 60, depending on what other courses they have.
Okay.
So, yeah, that one would be a challenge. You can do that in business. You can do that in healthcare. In fact, healthcare, the only undergrad is a completer degree, which is the additional 60. So usually you want to finish, those completer degrees are that someone can come in with something completely different, but if they take these, they can get that BS. Accounting is more of a challenge.
Okay.
And my question was, are the majority of people who are doing the MS in accounting, are they almost all doing it because they want to do the CPA, or are there people who are getting the master's for other reasons?
Both. Right. I have one student in particular who stands out in my mind who has multiple advanced degrees. He wants the knowledge. He doesn't need the degree itself. So he has gone through the certificate.
That's a unique person.
he really is quite unique, my goodness. But most of the students are interested in sitting for the CPA.
And I think that we also have that accounting certificate for MBA students, and we were surprised at the people who wanted. I didn't expect that there would be so many people in the MBA program that would want those 4 courses for that certificate.
Okay, good morning, class. For the final program, we have the BS in Economic Crime Investigation. So since this is a session on educating everyone on what these programs are, I thought I'd start out by telling you what is economic crime. So you understand, once you understand that, then you know what the program is all about. So on the left there it says, what is economic crime? And you know, the buzzwords and the things you think about when you think about this program are fraud, money laundering, corporate compliance, regulatory enforcement, recovery of assets. This is white-collar crime, right? This is essentially what this program is. And so I thought I'd dig a little deeper and just tell you about some famous cases of economic crime, just so you have an even deeper understanding of what we're talking about here, and how much, and the latest statistic I saw is that white-collar crime is like 6% of GDP. Like, it's unbelievable amounts of money, and you'll see here in a second what folks are doing. But credit card breaches, everybody knows about Bernie Madoff, and the crash of 2008 was all white-collar economic crime. So here's a first case. I'm sorry if you can't see that, but this is a gentleman. His name is Tom Peters, and he stole $3.65 billion.
Who says crime doesn't pay?
He didn't get to spend it all, though.
So he would attract investments for institutions that buy consumer electronic goods and sell them to big box stores like Costco and BJ's and Best Buy, except there was no such buying and selling happening. None of that was occurring. I'm sorry you can't see the screen. There we go.
Yeah, it's like flashing on and off every few seconds.
Yeah.
So his punishment was 50 years in federal prison, of which he didn't serve a single bit of it. So, and that'll be a theme here. You'll see the next one. This gentleman, his name's Jerome Kerviel. He stole $7.36 billion. And he's a French bank trader, falsified trades on risky futures markets. The bank lost more than $7 billion. So this is funny. His punishment, he served 4 months of a 3-year sentence. This might be me doing this, I'm sorry. I'm just not going to touch anything. He served 4 years of a 3-year sentence. The French High Court ruled that he would not have to pay back the money that he stole. And now he's got a great job.
So
I'm not
is
kidding.
this program going to show us how to do this?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm really interested in this.
Now he's got some high-powered job at some great company. He does information systems and computer security. I'm sensing irony. And the last, let's see, this is the last one. I think the last one. We all know Bernie made up, but this will give you this sense of the scope and the size of this. I mean, he frauded people out of $65 billion. I mean, it was a lot of money. And he is in prison. And he has the maximum, that's the highest amount of years that you can serve, is 150 years, and that's what he got. So he's currently serving it right now. So that's what we're talking about. And so the skills that you need to be a fraud examiner, first and foremost, and this is kind of how the program is structured. So one is you have to understand how business works, so how finance plays with accounting, how economics drives all of those things and those decisions. You have to understand that. Two, you have to know how to use technology. This is one of the challenges of the programs, why this is a real specific skill set, right? So you have to understand how to follow data trails, use tools, review digital evidence. That is a skill set that's very specific, but once you've got it, boy, you know, the jobs in this field are very high paying and they're great jobs. Three, versatile work experience. So more and more fraud examiners need hands-on experience working in the private and public sector, government and private companies. Four, you have to understand where the information is. So the inner workings of a company and its infrastructure. So again, having that understanding of business and how books are kept and where all of the information resides. And then finally, and this is one of the new areas, this will drive sort of the future direction of the program. More and more companies have, it's globalization is affecting all of business, and so more and more companies need people with international capabilities. They have to understand privacy laws in other countries, security standards, different languages, different cultures. So, I don't know what is happening, I'm sorry.
It happened to me too.
Just not, this worked. So here are the list of the courses, and I put all of them up here just to show you that the program is a blend of accounting, computer forensics, CINA stand for
Computers.
Management information.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Criminal justice, you have to understand law and criminal procedures, and now a little bit of management in there as well. So those skill sets, that combination of those skill sets are very, very marketable. Now, the challenge with this is that there aren't a lot of fraud jobs. There aren't a lot of them, right? And they're normally in really large companies. But if you happen to find them, there are, I mean, easily six-figure positions that you get. They move up the ladder very quickly. So it's quite a thing. And then the final slide I have here is the certification in this field. It's called the CFE. And if you have CFE after your last name, then again, that's one of those golden tickets to your to a job in this field. So it's hosted by the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, ACFE. And if you want to learn more about that, then you can, of course, go to their website. But if you're talking with people, CFE and the ACFE are really the two things that you should key in on and learn about.
Kind of like the CPA for accounting.
That's exactly right.
There's an interesting tidbit is that Jonathan Rajewski actually has an economic crime investigation undergraduate degree. That's what his degree was in.
We had an economic crime investigation program at a college I worked for before, and so I got to know a lot of these folks. And they work for Bank of America, they work for Chase, they work for big investment firms, and some smaller ones, but mainly the big ones. And boy, are they connected! And it's a tight group of the community is small, but they all know each other. It's pretty impressive. Anyway, that is all I had for you.
And it is a small program. I mean,
It's
kind of
small
like the
program.
MS in accounting is a small program.
Question, Ed, how many students do we have enrolled in it currently?
I think we have about 60-ish.
60?
In the MS in accounting or in the economic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Economic crime?
Yeah.
Yes. We have we're at 13 for our MS and accounting right now.
Yeah, 60 are in the ECI.
And they stay to themselves. The economic crime students are only reach out when they have a question. They are quite a quiet group of people.
You gotta stay under the radar if you're looking for people.
Exactly, exactly.
What kind of background do most of them have, if you can generalize?
I do have quite a few students that have a background where they're actually working. Some of them work in the IRS. I talked with a woman yesterday who deals specifically with money laundering. So then there are some who actually come from law enforcement. So it's a little bit of a mixture. And what
So they're
necessarily.
already somewhat connected to the field somehow.
I'm sorry?
So it sounds like, so they're already somewhat connected to the field.
Or there's an interest. You know, they might be doing law enforcement, but this is the area where they want to go and they need to get that skill set. So.
Yeah, and but one of the challenges of the program, this is not a bad thing, but you've got the criminal justice professional that dabbled in this in their professional career and wants to get into it more. Now, the challenge that that person will have is that they have to know accounting, they have to learn accounting, they've got to learn IT. On the flip side of things, you've got the IT person who wants to get into this because they dabbled in it and they have to learn accounting, and they've got to learn the other areas. So you got to get a mix of, you get accountants that have to learn IT, that have to learn computer forensics. And so that's why it's probably a small degree right now, because the skill set that you need to have it, very specific, but once you get it, boy, I mean, it's great.
And I talked to someone yesterday, and actually, same person, but she said that for her the frustration was she's not a computer person, so she's dealing more with paper trails, kind of more traditional Excel spreadsheets, things like that. And the CFDI was really posing a challenge for her in the CMIT courses and things like that. And she and I were talking about that. So it is very broad, and you do come out of the program with, you know, a really good knowledge base. But if you are thinking of, I just want to do this one particular area, then it may not be for that particular student. So.
Because it doesn't go deep into any of those.
Right, well, that's what I was thinking, you know, it kind of touches on the different aspects, because there's a lot you need to know to actually work in that field, and so it kind of introduces you, but then you have to really have more depth in those areas, whether you before or it's a starting place, and then you have that goal to get there at some point. I mean, it's like cybersecurity, really. I mean, it's a specialization. So you don't just jump into cybersecurity if you have no IT foundation. You've got to start here and work your way out.
Yeah, I took the ACCT 280 when I did my bachelor's, and probably the most fascinating course I took in everything here. As you mentioned, you know, there's insurance fraud, and there's unemployment benefits fraud, and it just adds up in billions and billions of dollars. I was just stunned at the sheer amount of money that's in.
And I showed you 3 individuals in the list of people who have defrauded the government and other companies is huge.
Yeah.
And the number is very, very big.
Well, on the smaller scale, we hear about it in Vermont all the time.
Oh,
it's
the
like
people.
all the city clerks, the town clerks, everybody. It's crazy. How many
There
times
was
it's happened.
somebody who served time because she was a city clerk, and the YMCA, this was shortly after we moved here, the YMCA hired her after she got out, kind of as a thing, and she stole from them. And so it is. The other thing that happens is that a lot of times it can be internal, and companies, you'll never know about it because companies don't want the public to know. A lot of times they don't prosecute, they just, get rid of them. So
that's how Bob's retiring.
Pardon? That's right. That's why Bob's retired. He got away with it this long. He doesn't want to push it any further.
My Swiss bank is.
Yeah, you won't see him around here at all after December 31st. He's gonna go to a different country. Yep.
I'm wondering about the students in these programs or that don't go into these programs. Is it because the courses are so daunting, or is it because they just don't even consider the program? I mean, why don't people?
You mean,
go
why
into-
are there only 60 students?
Yeah, why aren't the programs that pay the most enrolled? Is
It's
it,
kind of like
At least-
software.
yeah, software development
Yeah.
program? Is it, I mean, do students say, oh man, I can't do that? Or do they just, you know, is there some other reason?
I don't think, from my perspective, going out and talking with students, I don't think this one's on anyone's radar.
No, I don't
You know what I
either.
mean? Like, I think cybersecurity is now, especially for people who are in
Oh.
IT, but I don't think this program is on someone's radar unless they work in a role where they see it,
That's right.
and then
They're
they, and then
familiar.
they get it. So that's, I mean, this is helpful for me because now it's something else that I can suggest for the right person. But I mean, I wasn't very familiar with it.
Yeah.
Well, and part of it is the skill set. I mean, you gotta know, you gotta do accounting, you gotta be really good at, you have to be really good at computer forensics, you gotta understand how to pull data, and those are normally two very distinct skill sets, you know.
Yeah, but for some reason it concerns me that people are making career decisions based on sex appeal, you know, on what's the hot thing or what looks cool, and watching, CSI or
I was
something.
gonna say, make it a TV show.
I can tell you that nationwide, I think Champlain is in a very, very small group of schools that has this program. There are many. You can count them on one hand. It's very small.
This was an easy one to put together since there are no new courses.
I know, what I did when I developed this one was go to Utica, which is where Albert had been, and they have a huge program. They've got an economic crime center, which they don't call it economic crime anymore. What do they call it?
Financial crime investigation. That's the buzzword, the Google buzzword. It's not economic crime, it's financial crime.
So maybe, but anyway, so I went through all of their courses, I took all their course descriptions and brought in courses that we already had that covered the things that were covered in that program. And it was, we had all the courses.
Word of mouth drives this program. The Utica program was popular because they talked to one another. And so they would, Bank of America employees would talk to their friends and then they would come into the program. So it's a tight small group of individuals.
And Utica is where John Rajewski got his undergrad.
Do we have connections with financial institutions or insurance companies where we could promote this? Don't they?
Do we have any partnerships? Well, we do have National Life,
National Life, the Fed,
MetLife.
the banks, yeah. The banks are tough. They're just, even if it's a good fit, they're just a hard chewing partner for us.
Because they have all the banking
Branches,
industry.
it's really hard to kind of communicate with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, National Life.
Interesting.
When you have to get to the banking sector through the government, really to do a partnership with their programs.
I wonder if people in the SEC
Yeah.
would find that a good fit. I don't know, do you think?
It's going to be financial institutions. The government's actually interesting. They might actually have their own training for this for their own employees, like through the FBI and stuff. So that might, or the IRS. So it might be interesting to see what they do.
But would you say that this is more geared towards the private side than the?
Not necessarily.
Because they're the ones that are investigating the private.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But that's where the majority of the cases are, the private cases.
Yeah.
You don't
But
hear
it's
about
a
it.
similar skill set, isn't it's a similar skill set for the government employees, investigators.
Yeah. I'd say we did pretty well. 4 programs in less than an hour.